Hello and welcome to Analyst Hangout. I am Perpetua Fasomi Peter. It's another beautiful episode of Analyst Hangout today, and I'm not doing it alone. As always, I've got my analyst right here with me. I've got two in the studio. That's a huge one. Good morning. I've got Ambrose Omodo, the Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting. Did I say good morning?
Yeah,
good evening. Good evening. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me again.
All right. And I also have with me Chuks Obiri, Country Manager, TP Global FX. Now, this is the first time we're having someone from Forex to talk to us. I mean, a lot of persons can't wait with the challenges, in the Forex and all of that. It's something we really need to talk about. So, yeah, we're glad you joined us today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me on the show, yes.
All right, and joining virtually, we have Olumiyiwa Adeyemi, the MD Atlas Portfolios Limited, and we also have Rotimi Olubi, the Managing Director, ARM Securities Limited, and Alhaji Kofi Garuba, the MD Apt Securities and Funds Limited. Well, I understand that Rotimi has joined us virtually already. Hi, Rotimi. How are you? Hello, Rotimi. Can you hear me? Okay, I guess you have to unmute. Yes, I can see he's muted already. Try, please unmute. Have you done that? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've done that. Yes, I can hear you.
All right, good to have you join us today.
It's a pleasure.
All right, now let's start with the half-year performance at the NGX. Now, equity trading on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange Limited recorded a gain of 5.639 trillion naira during the half-year ended June 30, 2022, as investors continue to increase their buying pressure, especially on blue-chip stocks. Now, available statistics show that activities on the Nigerian Exchange Limited, which opened the trading year at 22.296 trillion naira in market capitalization and 42,716.14 in index at the beginning of trading on January 4, 2022, closed the half year on 30th June 2022 at 27.937 trillion naira and 51,817.79 index points. Now, this has earned a year-to-date gain of about 5.9 trillion naira, or a 21.31% increase in index points year to date. Now, I would like to come to you, Ambrose. You know, you are the NGX man. That's what we call you on the show.
You are NGX. You are the MD of stockbroking firm. You are
Okay, so talk to us about the positive sentiments that returned to the local buzz, and maybe other things you would like to talk about.
Actually, I think our market has defined what is happening globally, which is good for Nigeria market. And also, if you look at our Africa continent, we are leading in all ramifications in terms of return and also increase the activities. It tells you that investors are seeing some opportunity in the market, which have taken advantage of it. Don't forget that at the beginning of the year, we saw the month of January returning about almost 9% for that month alone. That was extended at the end of March. But in the end of in March, market pulled back a little. April, May, we see an up market. But in the month of June, we saw a little profit taking and correction coming up now. But for me, for market to still maintain 21.31% year to date, tell you that our market is strong. But I will tell you that it's most blue chips that really supported the market, especially from the telecom sector that brought the market to where the market is. Because you see the life of Airtel moving from as low as, 1,200 to almost 1,732, despite the score was adjusted for 12 naira dividend recently. MTN also moved from as low as 169 to almost...
You said that's low?
Yeah, slow.
Okay.
Slow.
I'm looking at what?
It's low. Because if you look at the listed price of these stocks, it tells that what I think also the potential we're seeing in this sector tells you that the price that is selling is, like I said, design investors should know where to be at this point. Like our outlook for the second half of the year, I believe that these blue chips companies, especially this telecom and agriculture sector and some of the industrial goods, will also support the market. But looking at the paying companies, that the month of July and August, we expect all the results to hit the market latest in August. Those that have the dividend payment will come from August, while those that are going to release normal results will come within 30 days. That means within between 1st today now till end of 31st of July, we expect most listed companies that had December as year end to release their numbers to the market. Yes. That will also guide investor decision where to be. But as a design investor, you don't need to wait to see this number before you take decision. You look at the trend of this company performance in Q1 and their 2021 performance, and also look at economic policies and the sector that has also contributed much to the GDP in first quarter to know where you put your money as you speak now. On that note, investors know exactly where they should go. But for those that are attending the Invest Data Masterclass, actually are prepared what they need there, so that those stocks that give you, double of the price they are selling now. We're going to discuss in the class tomorrow. That means if you are not registered, I was okay for choose for them.
It's all right. It's time to bring in Rotimi. Okay, Rotimi, now some capital market analysts attributed the growth of the NGX to a steady increase in global oil prices and, listed companies' impressive earnings post-COVID-19. I think to some extent, Ambrose alluded to that, but then I'd like to have your thoughts on that. What these analysts are saying. Do you concur? Do you agree with them? Or what are your own thoughts?
Okay, so what led to the increase in the index for the half year was as a result of improved corporate earnings by most listed firms. So you'd recall that in 2020 we had low performance by companies in terms of their corporate performance compared to previous, that's in 2019.
If you can hear me, please go on.
The network is freezing.
All right, I guess. Well, basically, I think he also agrees with some of the analysts who have said it's because, it's just a recovery year and people, companies are recovering and their earnings are quite impressive.
Exactly.
And so for this. And you also talk about the fact that you don't invest blindly. You need to see the numbers. It's when you see the numbers, you see the earnings and all of that. That's what should, inspire you to, put your money in a particular place or the other. Rotimi, if you can still hear me, I'd like you to continue on that thought. Okay, I think you will probably have to come in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
So so corporate performance improved. Yeah, so that's why we saw investor renewed interest in the equities markets.
Yeah.
And then one of that driver to the bullishness we saw in the markets was as a result of the participants in the markets.
Okay.
The participants in our market now are majorly local. So compared to before, when we used to have a lot of foreigners that trade our markets. So and despite this negative sentiment in the global front, it didn't really impact our market negatively. So those are some of the drivers to the performance that we saw. We saw renewed interest, and then from local players.
Exactly.
So hence the index went up. You also see stocks like Airtel also was doing very well because most foreign players were using that window because of the fungibility of that asset, that security. They were using that window to exit their funds out of the Nigerian market. So they were constantly buying securities like Seplat. And then so Seplat also, Seplat and then Airtel.
Yeah.
So both securities, both stocks have major impact on the index. So hence we saw the index constantly moving. Those are part of the factors that impacted the market performance.
All right, Rotimi, you were saying something about the impact being mostly from local players. What was responsible for that? Why did we see that exit, and why was it more of local players? What happened?
Yeah. Since 2020, we've seen increased local participation in our market. Compared to foreign participation, as at May, the end of May, for local participation, domestic participation was about 93% compared to 7%, which is foreign. So that's the pointer to the fact that we've been seeing increased local participation. So and then because it is the Nigerian retail players and the institutional players that play our market, they understand the ecosystem, they understand the environment. Their investments are denominated in naira, they spend naira, so they want to return also in naira. So they are comfortable with the kind of return they see in the market. And then coupled with the fact that we also had low yield in the fixed income market. So there was a lot of interest also in the equities market. So despite global negative sentiment, the investors didn't really mind. Okay. And then the index was also moving up. So there was also a sign that there's a lot of interest in the equities market. So when the market goes up, it also attracts other people. So people are excited about market going up, and they see continuous interest continue to spur market
positive sentiment.
Okay, I think we need to talk about this defiance or something like that. That will be later. Let's have your thoughts, the FX man. Pardon me for calling you that.
Okay, it's okay. No problem. So the idea is this, basically from my own perspective, it's just normal. When you look at what we call the business cycle, the economic cycle, it's just straightforward thinking.
All right, just before you, sincere apologies to cut you in there. All right, I guess we have Olumuyiwa joining us also. Olumuyiwa, good to have you on board. Of course, we'll get to you later on. Just stay with us. We'll get to you. You'll talk after him, don't worry.
Okay, so as I was saying, yes, when you look at the economic cycle or business cycle, okay, how assets flow from one asset class into another. So when you see that the global economy is on a path to recovery, it's just normal for consumable stocks like I don't know, everyday stocks and all of that to start to pick up.
Staple foods.
Yeah, staple foods, you know. So it's just, you see money flowing into those type of stocks, and then you see the index, you know, begin to recover. And just like they have all rightly said, and that's how you see as the index begins to recover, as more and more interest, investors, okay, have renewed interest in the indices, you see them begin to pick up, you know, globally. And like we all know, the debt market, okay, has not really been very attractive. So where will people go to? Of course, the indices, and that's why you see the indices picking up, like they are rightly said.
All right, thank you so much. Olumuyiwa, good to have you join us.
Thank you so very much, Perpetual. Sorry I'm joining late. I was stuck somewhere, but it's fine.
That's okay.
Thank
it's a
you.
good thing you joined. All right,
Thank
so
you.
we're looking at the half-year performance of the NGX. So, and then we saw that bargain hunting took the center stage at some point. So we'd like you to talk to us about this. You know, first, how do you measure an undervalued stock? Because that's what informs bargain hunting. And then what was responsible for the low prices of the stocks in question?
Okay, all right. Thank you, Perpetual. I'll try to address your questions to the best of my ability.
You're a very humble person, I know. You're always playing humble.
The Don himself.
Hey, Oga Rotimi is there. Oga Rotimi is there. So the man that knows the market, he knows in and out the market.
All right, please
I
go
salute
ahead.
you. All right, thank you so much. For me, the price put on the stock depends on a lot of factors. Very importantly, we also have means of determining the intrinsic value of a particular company or a particular stock. Is that you do it the fundamental way, or some people just do the technical way and then draw graphs to mirror and project into what the future will say. But a lot of investors who have been in the market for a very long time, the question is, how low is a particular stock in your portfolio? How low is it for you to feel that it has further potential? It depends on the entry prices you've entered, and that's why we've come up with strategies in the past to have a portfolio that seems excellent. You cannot just have, for example, and put in a stock. The fundamentals are the technical or the hearsay market.
Okay, all right, I think very quickly, I like you. You're interested in that particular conversation. I can see you affirming everything he was saying. So very quickly, let's have you.
Actually, like what you just said, you know, for you to be a good or successful investor, you must know how to combine your fundamental and technical analysis to make informed investment decision. Like you just said, you know, suppose looking for intrinsic value, you want to look at your fundamental analysis, or do on that value, look at your different model to come to a value. But for we that are technicians, the price, the buyer and the seller agree on a particular stock a day, that is the value. Because that is what they try to transact that stock. If tomorrow the price of the stock move up, that is the value they placed on it. And that is why in the technical analysis, what we call oversold and overbought region.
Exactly, yeah.
Then also in fundamental analysis, what we call overpriced or underpriced.
Underpriced, yes.
No, that means these two, kind of analysis also agree on the point that a stock will be at overbought region, overpriced region, but a good investor want to buy at what oversold region and undervalued position, so that when the stock appreciates, you want to see that upproof, we call it the upside potential of the company. That is why when you say that the bargain hunters took advantage of the market pullback, that is the way to invest, because this is not a time to follow a bad wagon. You must know what you are doing in the market. That is why every investor on our market should have what investment objective. That objective will guide you, and also you have your stop loss and reward to get when to cut loss and when to also take your profit, because as you are entering position, if you are seeing where the price is going, that is why I tell you that if you are leaving Lagos to Abuja, you know your Boston. That means if you're entering a stock, know the price you want to exit. Don't because Mr. A is buying at that price, you want to keep. No, because you have set the target from day one. What is your boss stock? You come down from the car. That is when that price, you also take profit. The others that want to join will continue. That's why I said, do not allow what others are doing in the market. The day you are buying, your objective kind of stock should be your portfolio. Are you going to buy telecom companies? Your objective will tell you. You want to buy banking stock? Your objective will tell you, because you know what you want to achieve with your investment for that period. Either for 3 months, for a year, for 6 months, let your investment objective guide you to know the kind of stock. Like going to look at the overbought period and on price is because you need to know buy at a good price, because every investment is against what? Against the future.
All right, Olumuyiwa, please go ahead.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sell all the properties I have. I'll give the money
to Perpetua.
I'm just let him just make money for me. I'll just become a billionaire in a month. No. Ambrose, you have spoken very, very well. I'm sure a lot of listeners will feel that, why is this guy always talking about Ambrose? I have monitored him more than.
Okay, there we go again. Rotim, if you can hear us, I'd like you to butt in here.
And I tell you, taking the word out of my mouth. You cannot have a portfolio and say, I am.
Okay, I think we'll just end it there with you, Olumuyiwa. Thank you so much for your thoughts so far on that particular question. Rotim, if you can hear me, I'd like to have your thoughts on this before we move on to some other conversation, still on half-year performance. Okay, I guess we can't hear Rotim here. Okay, so very quickly, while you were talking, I started asking myself, what about laymen, people who just, for example, when MTN, offered its own, a lot of persons just bought, not like they knew anything about it. So for people who don't have this knowledge, this information, who don't know what's undervalued, what's overpriced, and all of that, how do they get this knowledge to help them in their investments?
Actually, that is the role of a stockbroking firm. That is why you need to go through stockbroking firm to advise you. Ideally, I'll tell you that what most companies should do most now is that not only buying stock for your client, as they come, you advise them why they should buy the stock. Most I see, because I've been in the market for a long time, I see most stockbroking firms, what they do is that when you give order to buy, they go ahead and buy for you. Whether the stock is profitable,
without even educating you and enlightening you.
And I believe now the trend is changing, because the market has become more transparent, become more, people are trying to know what they are doing, and that is why we're cut off and invest data to give investment education to Nigerians, so that they won't invest blindly, so that when you are taking position, you are taking position for the future and taking it wisely, because you have to enter the right price and sell at the right price. That is the source of this program too, the analyst hangout, to educate Nigerians on how to invest wisely. Like your question, what to be mentioned. Actually, our market has enjoyed this rally because previously we depend mainly on foreign investors. And when they're in the market, any single shake in the economy, because here it's not their town, here it's not their country, they're off. And that's why many people don't want to invest in our market, because our market is not stable. And in the other mature market, because they don't allow foreign investors to take some percentage of their market, they can plan with their market. Because here, because Nigeria is always happy to see foreign investors, they bought about almost 60% of the market. And when they are saying they're 6%, market will already bleed. But because of what happened during COVID-19, the trend changed. Market touched almost 11 years low at that period. They are out then, because they're also running for their portfolio and all that. But now our local investor, international investor, came back to the market fully, because they understand the terrain, as Olumi just mentioned, and because of that, they are starting advantage of those products that touched at 11 years low. After then, scan check it in 2020 March, April, market have been in uptrend. Even there's a little correction up and down, but market have been in uptrend. Tell you that now that we've seen more local players, we can now plan more with our market. And this is the time the regulators of this market, both the operators like stockbroking firm, SEC, NSC, to go and do education for Nigerians. We have a population, about 200 million Nigerians, have less than 10 million playing the equity market. For me, it's an aberration. All we need to go and take education to their level. And also, the funny thing that when I see SEC, I see NSC doing education, they're doing for stockbroking firms, research people on Zoom. The man that has the money in that is Okada man, that's a man on the street, you don't know how to go on Zoom. Like I said, it's the time for SEC and NSC to work decentralized investment education, not the one you stay down in your office with Zoom and because
I guess that's part of what Analyst Hangout is about.
So the educate Nigerians so that we get great education and do investment with knowledge. Not that's why you can see the positive thing before now have been a place
we
for
have
them.
to move on now. All right, very quickly, we're looking, we are looking at the outlook for the second half of the year. Now, Olumiwa, what do you think? Will this rally continue in the second half of 2022?
Okay, thank you, Perpetual. Very quickly, we don't have a crystal ball here that will say for sure this is what the direction will be.
Yeah.
But we have factors that we should look at and consider to now give an idea of what we should. It's the year preceding the election, and you can see the intrigues walking around already. Number one, number two, the inflation figures. I think the inflation figures will increase, will continue. So you see a lot of investors play in sectors that I don't see so much activities in the fixed income or the money market. I don't see so much activity because if you look at the inflation knocks off whatever return they'll be making from such markets. So the only market that will probably does see activities will be our equities market. And then your question, will this trend continue? Not as we would expect it to continue. We are hoping that there will be funds around falling from the hands of politicians into the real sector that will not be able to, a few of it will now come into our market, and a few of them who have learned lessons over the years will now be able to say, okay, put it in good stocks for me, all right? So we'll see good traction in select companies. I would slow down playing the banking sector. I'll slow down playing the banking sector. I'll play more of the real sector.
Okay, I think it's a good place to keep it it's a good place. Yes, it's a good place to leave it. Now, if this rally were to lose steam, what would be the possible cause?
Yeah, being a pre-election year, uncertainty that come with political activities and reactionary move will also slow down. But the good thing is that the way the primary came, is a bit peaceful. We're able to choose leader that represent. Now it's now done on the political parties to start rolling out their manifesto, their program for Nigeria. That also informed. But the good thing is that Nigeria politics has been what we call money back politics. Like he just said, there's a way that all this funds will have trickle down to the market in one form or the other. Like I told people earlier that there are some investment that you make now, you'll be smiling. There are some you do, you regret. Why? Because after the election properly, there will be moved to another kind of investment purely for those guys. That means if you are designing, this is time for you to take position ahead of them coming back after the election. Election is coming around the February 23rd for presidential election. If you got position now and the price is still oscillating, don't worry. When they finish the election, they know where the money bag will take the money to. When they come there, they will be rally. Like you just said, for me, the half year or second half 2022 is a miss, outlook for that and very dicey in nature. But there are sectors that will still deliver value for investors, and they will become called spikes up and down. Despite the market is still oscillating, some individual stocks, some sector will also rally. Okay,
now that you've talked about volatility, I'd like to know how should investors remove some of this volatility, from their portfolio's equity curve?
One, you start with, like I just said, your goal, the kind of stock you select for your portfolio is very, very important. There are some stocks that no matter what is happening, they have what called the sensitive nature in them because of what their performance. Like we just said, if inflation keep on rising, I'll tell you the fixed income market, no matter you're having a return on bond, 14%, and inflation is above 18%, you are still in the red return. But for those, there are some stocks that will give you even capital position of 20%, a capital position of 30% in a short time, plus the dividend. Like now, we're looking at the half year that we just review. We're expecting companies that will pay the interim dividend to come in the second half of the year. That means that from August to start seeing some, from July, start seeing some dividend. That will also tell them where they should put their portfolio, where should put their money down. For me, that should guide them. But one thing again is that as an investor, don't follow bandwagon.
Okay.
As an investor, let your goal guide you.
That's fine. Good place to end it. Very quickly, let's have your thoughts.
Honestly, I think Ambrose has already overflowed it, so there's no need beating a dead horse. But like he has said, for the second half, basically, I don't expect just like what we saw in the first half, I don't expect the same performance to happen in the second half, and that's because even though they say they don't expect much activity in the debt market, the fact remains that the central bank has started to increase in interest rates. Okay, so basically because of this, I see a bit of caution, going into the second half, also because of uncertainty, because of the elections as well. So I see a bit of caution going into the second half. So I would say investors should be more cautious. Okay, like he has said, their investment objectives should actually be their major guide. Okay, going into the second half, but a lot of caution is what I expect them investors to look at.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Well, we've been talking about the first half and also looking at what the second half will bring. We'll take a break now, and when we return, we'll be looking at something different. Stay with us.